along that way. All right, today's Lunch and Learn. We are piggybacking off of last week's training. So last week, if you caught it, if you didn't, it's inside the replay vault over on getbizsavvy.com under courses. It's a free access point. That training we did last week was creating a lead magnet. And we quickly kind of walked through kind of the delivery of the lead magnet and what your next steps might be. Today, I wanted to dive into that actual next step because, yes, it's wonderful that we can create this great lead magnet gift to the people that are our people and those that want to work with us or we want to work with them. But if we don't have a systematic approach, guess what? They're gonna be gone. You're gonna miss the opportunity. So today I wanted to kind of dive into what would an email nurturing sequence look like? Because remember, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we talked about the difference between discovery content and nurturing content. Well, today, this is going to kind of allow you to lean into that nurturing element. And so we're just going to see. We're going to see. And you know me, this is what you get. This is me. I have this, I don't know what it is. I have to be able to see it inside on my phone and I can't, but we're just going to roll with it. I'll try not to get too distracted. So we're going to lean into that nurturing element. We're going to lean into the idea of taking that contact that went from cold, right? Because you didn't know them before they signed up for your lead magnet, potentially, into a warm sequence where your goal by the end of the 3 to 5 email sequence creates an opportunity that they have built trust, they have warmed up to you, they believe they might want to take the next step. So that's our goal today. We want to be able to go through something that's simple, practical, and that's you can implement. So if you've got a notebook, great. If you're watching the replay, make sure you grab a notebook so you can kind of take some notes as we go along. I tend to speak fast, and when I do these lives, I really focus on slowing my roll, so that way people can keep up. As I'm watching the comments, I'll respond as I see them and when the opportunity provides itself. If you are logged into your Women's Business Resource Community account, so getbizsavvy.com/login, you can actually join us live in the Zoom and be interactive with us that way and ask your questions and get help firsthand. So, and I will watch for you if you join us via Zoom, okay? All right, now, we have to remember as small business owners, what we do affects our sales. What we do affects all of it, right? Every action we take has a reaction. So today, the step you're going to be taking is nurturing those contacts, right? But we want to make sure that the impact we're making that's going to affect the relationships we're building, the confidence that people have in us, that it feels human to them. And I was in my PowerLink networking group this morning. We were talking about this. We were talking about the impact of AI on relationship building, on what we're doing in our business. Yes, AI is an amazing tool when we leverage it and use it to create systems and allow us to use it as a time saver, right? But it can't replace the human connection. The human connection is the number one. So we want to make sure that we don't come across as pushy or cringe, right? And it's not just hey, we're just kind of jumping in quickly to your inbox, right? Because people see through that, right? Because I don't know about you, but I'm the type of person when I get contacted, I don't want to be annoyed. I want to make sure that contact from them is valuable. It offers me something. but not, I don't want to be annoyed. Like if I feel annoyed, then I just want to unsubscribe immediately, right? And it's also, do we know what we want to say? Because sometimes when we don't know what we want to say, then that impacts, well, the impact that we're going to have on the person that's receiving it. And we don't want to sound salesy. So those are kind of the three things that we're going to make sure by the end of this lunch and learn that you can kind of walk away from going, okay, so I'm not going to annoy people. I'm going to know what I'm going to say, and I'm not going to sound salesy. Okay. Because trust me, you're not alone when we're trying to create content, especially email content that we're sending to people, because it can be a hit and miss. Right. We're going to come away with today simple follow-up within your email system, a clear 3 to 5 email nurturing sequence, and then we're going to draft the first email together. All right. That way you have something tangible that you can take and start to use and implement right away. Okay. Now, let's see. First off, pitchy follow-ups. I don't know about you guys. See, I gotta check now. I gotta check to make sure there's no comments that I'm missing, because of course my phone is doing its thing. It's doing its thing and not letting me log in. And I thought I could do it without being distracted, but in the back of my mind, I keep thinking I'm missing something, and I don't want to miss people's questions. So I just need to learn to let that go. I need to learn to let that shit go. Okay. So back on track, refocus. So pitchy follow-ups, we don't like them, right? When we see an email that comes in that says, here's my offer, here's my offer, here's my offer, what do? We shut down, right? We basically say, nope, not having it. Not happening, right? So you want to make sure, because it sounds very robotic. When we go right into that sales jumpy piece, it just feels robotic, and we don't want that. So the humanoid, the human in us, is more conversational. And it sounds much more like, I see you. Here's what helps. Here's the next step when you're ready, right? If you're going to remember one thing from today, conversations convert. Pressure repels. And I know I speak from experience, because if there is one thing that immediately makes me like jump away, is when I get those cold DMs or those cold emails, because they just happen to, scour Facebook and find an email, and they start adding emails to their email list, right? So you want to make sure that when you are creating your emails, it's about conversation. When you think of follow-up to your leads that have come in from that lead magnet, what's the hardest part for you guys? Is it like that type 1 email where they're annoying? Is it where the email sounds like they're rambling? Or do you have this fear that they're going to receive it and they're just going to ignore it? And then do you have this sense that maybe you're just going to kind of disappear off their radar? Right? Which of those kind of is the hardest part for you? Like, I know for me, the people that are on my email list have requested to be there. So I hope I'm not ignoring. I'm not like annoying to them. So I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to be annoying. And I know what I'm going to say, right? My concern is, are they going to ignore me? And then they're just going to, I'll fade away from them, right? So I think for me, the hardest one is that they'll ignore me. And then I also have to remember, when we go into the data part of our emails, when we kind of look at how many opens, how many click-throughs, et cetera, right? We have to remember that not everybody that reads our email is going to be in the list of people that read it. Because sometimes I can read, like I send myself my own newsletters when they get sent out. One, so I can confirm, yes, they actually got sent. Two, I can see how they really come through for the final product. Yes, even though I do drafts. But like I can open it and read it. And my system sometimes shows that I didn't even read my own email. And I know that's not accurate. So I kind of give a certain percentage of the read versus unread data a bit of breathing room, because I know not everybody has to open the email to actually read it. They can get it on a preview on their phones or on their computer without it actually notifying the system that, yes, in fact, they read your email. So I kind of lean into that when I start to go, oh, I only had like a 20% open rate or read rate. I have to take a breath and go, right, because not everybody's going to be accounted for. And I'm okay with that. And when I'm creating, right? So that second one that we talked about, not knowing what to say, I kind of lean into these feel human elements, like ingredients, right? If you watched the Bake and Build yesterday, right? It's like a recipe. So the three main ingredients in your email sequence, when you're creating them, and we call them the 3 R's, right? So recognition. I see what you're dealing with. That's what the recognition is about. 2, relief, right? Here's something small that's going to help you right away. So not like this big old overwhelmed solution, but something that's small that's really helpful that they can take and run with. And then the last one is like the direction, right? And here's your next step if you want support. Again, not salesy, but you're offering them and guiding them to take the next step. So when we start to create our follow-up, it doesn't have to be complicated, right? It's very simple. It's seen, supported, and guided. Those are the 3 elements to your email sequence follow-up. You want to make sure that you're recognizing them if they're feeling stuck, that it makes sense. It's a relief. Try this one small step, right? It's a direction. If you want help implementing the sequence, here's what you want to do next. So these follow-ups, I say so a lot. I think I need to start keeping track of that and self-counting those words. Those are filler words. I don't need to keep saying that. Note to self, note to self. All right. Follow-up looks differently on where relationships get started, right? And if they've done a lead magnet, if you've met them in person, if they've been a referral from somebody that knows you. So you want to make sure you're aware of the sequence you're creating is going to be based on where they've come from. So it's customizable. So it's not like a cookie cutter. I'm going to do this for every single new lead that comes into my CRM. The 3 common sequences are like a new subscriber from a lead magnet. It's a post-call follow-up from somebody who said, hey, maybe, right? So inside of our Savvy Women's Facebook group, one of the questions is, would you like a free 15-minute strategy chat or clarity chat with me? And if they say yes or maybe, then they go into a sequence where we're contacting them because they've given us permission. So you want to make sure, what does that follow-up sequence look like, right? So if they've said maybe or yes to you contacting them. And then a DM warm lead, like where you're wanting to nurture them, right? So they've engaged and then went quiet. So you want to kind of re-engage with them. Today, we want to take the next 15, 20 minutes and focus just on the first one, which is that new subscriber lead magnet sequence. And the reason is because you're able to take this sequence and adapt it based on the other post-call follow-up or a DM warm lead or a referral. You can take it and adapt it to manage it for whatever the direction the lead came from. But we're going to focus on the first one, which is that new subscriber lead, because it really dovetails nicely from last week's training. And I want to make sure that we're consistent And that every week when we're coming to you with this lunch and learn training, that we're building on something. So you guys are being guided down the path, right? Why do your nurture sequences feel salesy? Because I think for a lot of people, that's our biggest fear is I'm coming across as a salesperson and I'm trying to sell them something, right? And the reason it comes across as salesy is because we try to do too much in the email. So today, we're going to use the one job rule, which means each email has one job, one point, one next step. Your job is not to convince people. Your job is to build trust and move the relationship to the next section. So, with that, let's walk through the five. I always use 5 emails. I know some people will use 3, a comfortable 3 to 5 sequence is kind of best. I use 5. I don't know. Maybe it's based on numerology, likely, if I have to really be fully transparent and honest too. 3, I feel, doesn't get us to the finish line, which is what in the nurturing sequence. The finish line is actually having them take the next step and do something, take an action, right? And I think 3 is just really tight and can force you to say more in the first and second email than you might want to, especially if we follow that one job, right? So the one job, the one feeling, the one point, the next step, right? So email 1. I just said so. Email 1. That's where you're welcome. You're following through on the promise you made. So if they have given you the email in exchange for that high value item, right? Checklist, template, mini planner, etc. That first email is you're welcoming them, but you're delivering on the promise. You're reassuring them that you are going to do what you say you're going to do. You're going to make sure that they feel that they are in the right place, and it answers the question, which is, oh, I gave you my email. Where's X, Y, or Z? That's my question. Where's that? Where's that product? Where's that valuable item? Here it is. So you're answering that question in the first one. Email number 2, we're focusing on normalizing and reframing their real problem. Email 3 is about providing them a quick win, right? Another tool that complements the original valued item. Because remember, you're building on trust. Because who do people buy from? From people they trust. Email 4, this is where you get to show them the proof, right? The proof is in the pudding, as they say. It can be through a short story, a template, but something that reaffirms the value you provide. So they've already gotten the first valued item, which is whatever that freebie might have been. Now you're providing them the support to say, it works. I say what I do. I do what I say. Here it is, right? And then email 5, that's where you are reconfirming why they're there and you provide value, but you're actually inviting them to take that next step. And that's why the 5 email sequence for me is so important, because if you try and do that invitation on email 3, guess what happens? People are going, oh, wait a minute. Okay, I thought I was just going to get this freebie, but okay, whatever, I guess, right? And then all of a sudden confidence starts getting eroded. So let's break down each of those 5 emails a little bit more. Remember, email 1 it's like opening the door and smiling. The job for email 1 is to create a connection, provide clarity, and open the conversation. It tells them they're welcome here, what they can expect, and then it can include a simple question that allows for the conversation to continue. It can sound something like, hey, hit reply and tell me XYZ. Or hit reply with one word. Hit reply and tell me A, B, C, or D, whatever it might be. You want the conversation to be extended. So the call to action has to be simple, and it can't be more than one. You're delivering the lead magnet. That's right up front. Hey, welcome. Here it is. This is the document that you requested from me. If you have any troubles opening it, please let me know. And then you give them a little piece of value. And then it's like, reply and tell me. And that reply can even just be, hey, hit reply and let me know that you were able to open the document properly. That can be the simplest call to action. All right. Email 2. This is where we are making them feel like they're not alone, kind of normalizing, and we're reframing that challenge or problem that they originally sought the solution from us, which is what that freebie was, right? It's also where you deepen the trust because you're validating. The job of this email, of email number 2, is validation. And we're reframing it so it feels normal that they're not this unicorn with this problem. Okay. It makes them feel like, oh, I'm not broken. I just need a better approach. That's email number 2. That's that job. Email 3, this is where we provide that quick win, right? An additional tool or template that complements what you already delivered to them in email 1. And it's where you can give them something that they can use. Again, it has to complement. That continuity is important because it begins to build trust. And the job of email 3 is to build momentum. Okay. It can be where you're sharing like a 3-step mini process that follows through on the checklist that you had sent them, say, or it can be a script that follows up on the template that you provided earlier. It's simple. Again, not complicated, not overwhelming. You want simple. Email 4, this is where we're providing them that proof that hey, I gave you this value. I'm kind of showing you next steps, what you can be doing to do X, Y, and Z. But this is where you build belief with your contacts. So the job of email 4 is about possibility and credibility. And you're doing this without sounding braggy. Now, my dad has always, well, used to, he's gone, he's passed, but he always used to say to me, nobody's going to toot your horn like you are. You have to toot your own horn. And I was always just, whatever, Dad, right? Like, okay, words of wisdom from my dad. Great. And I never really understood what he meant. And I grew up in business, right? So my parents owned a general store in a small town in Apsley, Ontario. And that's, so I grew up in business. I watched my parents run this thriving business for 16 years. And so he has a bit of experience about this piece of it. And I think back now and I'm like, yeah, what he actually meant by tooting your own horn is not about bragging, but it's being confident in what it is you're delivering, right? It's allowing you to reinforce the credibility that you are who you do what you say you do, and you're trustworthy. So you're able to build that credibility by sharing a short story, right? Here's what she tried. Here's what shifted. Here's what happened next. That type of thing. Testimonials are great. So that's email 4. That's where the proof is. And you're allowed to be And now braggy is a term that you don't hear a lot anymore, right? It's coming from the ego. If you want to get a little woo-woo here, right? When you're bragging, we're being egotistical. But when you're sharing a story of an impact that you have made in somebody's life by them using your service or your product, you're not bragging, you're tooting your own horn. You're sharing a story of success. And that helps build the confidence that other people are going to have in you. That's email 4. Email 5. Some people might say 5 is too many. I don't. I think number 5 is